Okay.
Shall we start with the intros in the meantime while we wait for Robert?
Yeah. We can definitely
Wonderful.
start. I will start and I'll pass it over to someone and then they can continue and we pass it along. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Cheryl Norte. I am a senior analyst with the Housing for Health division. Excited to have you here. I'm basically going to be the project lead for with Exegy on this project. If should we move forward with it? And I'm excited to have you all here. I'm going to pass it over to, and before I go there, just wanted to mention that this session is going to be recorded and shared with us. We'll probably post on our site and then also share with any of our partners who also need to see this and staff as well. So just wanting to put that information here. And thank you to the XSG team for making time. You know, it was really hard trying to get this together, so thank you. I'd like to pass this over to Elaine to introduce herself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elaine Johnson. I'm the Executive Director of Housing Santa Cruz County. It's good to be here, and I'm excited to be take a look at this demo and see how we can make Santa Cruz County more robust. I will pass to Tom.
Thank you, Elaine. My name is Tom Graham. I'm the Deputy Executive Director at the Housing Authority for the County of Santa Cruz. And I just want to wish everyone a happy 4th of July.
Tom, you want to pass it
Oh,
on?
and I got to pass it off to someone. Sorry, Jessica.
Hey there, Jessica DeWitt. I'm with this. Oh, I don't know which Jessica.
Go for it.
Jessica DeWitt, City of Santa Cruz, and my connection's really slow, so I'm not on video. Sorry. I'll pass it to the other Jessica.
Thank you. Jessica Shiner with the Housing for Health team, and super excited to see what this is all about. And I'll pass it on over to Josh.
Hello, my name is Joshua Contreras for the Housing for Health program, and I'm interested to find out what this is all about, and pass it on to Angel.
Is Angel here? Well, we can pass it on to Carlos.
Who's next?
I'll take this one. So hi, my name is Carlos Nuno.
Carlos.
I am new with the county, with the Housing for Health team as well. This is my 3rd week here, so I'm excited to see what this is about. So I'll pass it over to, is Monica with us? Monica Lippi? No?
I think I'm next.
Okay, go for it.
Hi, Priscilla Wilson with the County of Santa Cruz CDI. I'm a housing specialist with our housing division. And I'll pass it on to Dr. Ratner.
Sorry, I'm late. Robert Ratner, County Human Services, Housing for Health Division. Hi, Antonella.
We're passing it on. So I think we have Zach and the Exegy team that haven't introduced themselves.
And I'll go first and then hand it off to Antonella to present today. So, hey, everyone, it's nice to meet you. My name is Zach. I'm the founder and CEO at Exegy, and I've been working on Bloom housing across the Bay Area for the last 7 or 8 years now. And it's good to see you, Robert. We connected way back when through the County of Alameda. So I'll hand it off to Antonella.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Zach. Hi, my name is Antonella Guidocchio. I'm the Director of Product of Bloom Housing here at XCG. And I've been working also on Bloom Housing since I joined in 2019. All the work that we have done in Alameda County, in San Jose and San Mateo, as well as in the city of Detroit, and most recently with Doorway in the 9 Bay Area counties. So very excited to have this conversation with you all. Thank you so much, Cheryl, for helping us to connect. So I think now we can get started. I'm gonna share my screen. Can everyone see it? Yeah. Okay. So what we were hoping to do today is give you an overview of like XCG and what's the vision for Bloom Housing, how we started the work, where we are operating today, give you an overview of the platform so you can get kind of first-hand insight into like the main functionality that we bring to home seekers, housing counselors, housing staff, and developers and property managers. And then share some more details around our approach, what's the typical kind of timeline and staffing models that different jurisdictions and us put in place when we work together. And then close with giving you a little bit more of an overview of the type of services that we typically provide, as well as the different options to procure Bloom. So one of the things that we would like to highlight is that usually what we do at the very beginning is have a demo, an initial Q&A. That is what we hope to do today. And then the second step is having a scoping call between our teams, more members of our teams, as well as your team, where we bring a lot of questions together and we walk you through around 1 hour or 1 hour and a half, depending on the availability of your team, so we can better understand what are your goals, your needs, and how we should tailor our proposal and services in order to really be able to meet your vision. And then a third call where we present the proposed approach. So with that, we can get started. Feel free to post questions on the chat. And then we usually, if you have anything pressing that you think is worth chatting it at the moment, you can unmute yourself. If not, we kind of put together all the questions and we'll leave a space at the end to cover all of them. Zach, do you want to start with this first part?
Sure, thanks, Antonella. Briefly, I'll just tell you a little bit about XCG. We are a small but mighty organization. We work with organizations who bring us on to use design and technology to improve service delivery and ultimately to improve the lives of those that they serve. So we are a certified B Corp. We've been a B Corp since 2010. We were one of the first 300 B Corps in the world. And what that means is that we are a mission-driven organization. All of our work is using the skills of Silicon Valley, human-centered design, agile software development, and applying it to nonprofits, to governments delivering social services. Today, we're going to talk about our work in affordable housing, which we've been doing for many years now, but we work in a number of different adjacent spaces as well, using design and technology to improve organizations and delivering equitable health outcomes. Organizations that are focused on climate justice, that are focused on education and criminal justice reform, amongst others. Next slide, please. And Antonella, do you want me to do this or pass it back to you?
You can cover this, and if you want, I cover the platform overview and the staffing model.
Let me tell you a little bit about our work in affordable housing. What we're talking about today is a product called Bloom Housing. We've been working on this product since 2015. And what this system does is it makes it easy for folks like yourself to centralize housing resources, and makes it easy for folks that are looking for housing to find and apply to it. So Bloom is a one-stop shop for affordable housing. Again, it centralizes resources, makes finding and applying easy and equitable. And it improves experiences for your partners as well, for developers who want to be able to list properties easily, who want to be able to receive applications digitally, and who want to have a really transparent and reliable and consistent process for listing and marketing their properties. We work with both nonprofit and for-profit housing developers across the Bay Area and across the country. And then for policymakers, perhaps one of the most impactful promises of the platform is the data that's coming off of it. because this is a digital platform, we can start to see which listings are being viewed the most, which listings are being applied to the most. Is it truly the 1-bedrooms that city council wants to build, or are we seeing a lot more applications for 3-bedroom houses? And we can also see things like people from what community are applying, and people from that same community, at what percentage are they getting in? And is that the same? And if not, are there inequities built into the system? And with data, we can actually test policies and see if policies that are designed to improve equitable outcomes are actually working. Next slide, please. So the story of this project.
Do you want to cover anything here, or shall I move along?
I think we can keep going if that's all right. So the story of this project begins in 2015 when the city and county of San Francisco asked for a partner who could help them to design and build a one-stop shop for affordable housing. We asked them if they would be willing to turn the work we were doing together into an open source product. And so what that meant is that all the work that the city and county of San Francisco was funding could become a public good. It could become reusable for other jurisdictions. And so we started working on it together. We launched something very small, very quickly, and then we kept building on top of it, adding features, making it more functional for more users. After a couple of years of doing that, we started talking to neighboring jurisdictions, Alameda County, San Mateo County, City of San Jose, and they all wanted a system, and we were able to bring them a similar product to what we did with the city and county of San Francisco. And as Antonella mentioned, today we're live not only in the Bay Area, but also in the city of Detroit. And just this last Thursday, MTC and BAFA announced a launch of the Doorway Housing Portal, which is a system that will eventually cover 9 of the Bay Area counties, including the ones we're already in. The ones in bold are the ones that currently have a system. But just last Thursday, a system launched that covers Contra Costa County, Marin County, Solano County, Sonoma County, and Napa County, all of which were unable to have a system like this until Doorway launched. And Doorway is a partnership not only with Exigy and MTC, but also through Google.org, who has provided a team of volunteers to support the launch of this system. And as they move off, we're going to be continuing to we've supported them throughout. We're going to continue to sort of take over more of the system in partnership with MTC. Next slide, please. This slide is really about the success of the system as a digital system. And you can see the system really works. We've gotten millions of visits to the site, and a couple of million people have used it. These numbers also illustrate the extent of the housing crisis that we're experiencing as a region. And again, back to that data that can really be used to help to demonstrate that what we all know is true. The numbers can truly show it from a platform like this. One of the numbers I'm most proud of on this slide is the one at the bottom, because that's about the experience of folks that are in critical need of housing actually being able to have an equitable process that, we see from our, the work we do with developers as we're implementing the system. That, like, before the system, many folks have to fill out a 15-page paper application with proof of income, and and they're one of 7,000 applications for 15 units. And so what the system does is it makes it really easy for them to apply. They can apply on their mobile device. They can apply sitting next to their housing counselor who speaks a different language than them. They can reuse their application. We have really made a equitable, fair, dignified process for folks to find and apply to housing. And I'm just immensely proud of that work. Next slide, please. And I'll hand it back to Antonella to give you more of a detailed overview of the system.
Perfect. Thank you, Zach. So as we were mentioning before, Bloom Housing is a portfolio of 3 products. On one hand, we have the public interface to serve home seekers as well as housing counselors. We have the backend for property managers and developers to upload their listings, and then we have the admin interface for the housing staff to be able to see all the listings and applications happening in their jurisdiction. So let's start with giving you a little bit of an overview of the main features, functionality on each of these interfaces, as well as a little bit of like the decisions, design and product decisions that went into seeing the features that you will see here. So we did a lot of user research and user testing from the very beginning up until now. That's something that we constantly are doing, talking to home seekers, housing counselors, housing staff, developers, and property managers in each of the communities we work with, because we want to make sure that we prioritize the information that is most needed, and we are solving all the problems that people are having in this case when they are looking for housing. So what we definitely learned very quickly through doing user research and user testing is that usually people were very overwhelmed, not really understanding what was happening in the affordable housing process. Also, as I was mentioning, some of the pain points that anyways you are all very aware of. People had to deal with very like in-paper process, not being able to like reuse their data, so having to spend a lot of time for each application that they wanted to put through, having to go in person to sometimes take these applications or submit them, and overall confusion about like what will happen after they apply. So what you see here is that it's a very straightforward, all our portals are very straightforward. They prioritize just the critical information that home seekers need to see at that very moment. So in this case, what we know is that they want to see first is rentals, and then have the opportunity to access resources and also see an overview of the affordable housing process. We also tailor the language in a way that is very simple and straightforward. We remove all the jargon. And even we help our jurisdictions and developers and property managers to translate anything around preferences, programs, or rules, or first come, first serve, or lottery in a way that is very easy to read and understand by anyone. I'm getting some questions on the chat. Oh, Bibeng is introducing yourself. So glad to see you here, Bibeng. Thank you. And probably the next ones I'll cover at the end, or feel free to Zach if you want to also check any of them and let me know if I should stop. Okay, so there are two main things that we do with jurisdictions, which is and developers and property managers, which is standardizing the listings and the common application format in order to be able to provide a consistent experience for home seekers. So it's like they can expect the same and make it very easy and straightforward. So the way we do that is through workshops with all these stakeholders, developers, property managers, and housing staff, to make sure that we see the listings and everyone's agree on what are the critical information that should be in the listing model as well as on the common application model. And you can see here that it's only critical information that they can see and the information that they care the most at this stage, where they are deciding, shall I apply? Shall I look for more information about that listing or not? So people usually want to know what's the minimum income and the rent. And then if they want to know more, because in this case they are senior and they think they can qualify for this opportunity, they can go and see more when they click see details. But for instance, we thought that there was no need to put all the information about like kind of the amenities and other things about this opportunity, that only the people that wants to apply should go and be able to see. So for instance, other details, even like smoking policy or pet policy, or other amenities are on the second page. Throughout, you will see that we're trying to be very action oriented and really clarified what like people should do next. So in this case, it's apply online. We still, even though only about 3% of the people of the jurisdictions we work with apply in paper, we are still providing support for that flow. So people do still have the chance to download a paper application. And of course, at the end of the day, that's a decision of each jurisdiction, whether they decide to continue having the paper application there or not, but we can definitely support that flow as well. We always also encourage jurisdictions and property managers to put some explanations around what people can expect after they apply. So you can see that what to expect section here. And then, actually, let me move to the next slide. Other things that we support and we encourage jurisdictions to do is to always have the site be available both for searching listings and applying in the different languages, like the main languages of the different communities in each jurisdiction. And again, people can do everything from seeing to applying in the language of their choice. As I mentioned before, other things that we do with each jurisdiction is help them define a common application model for the different opportunities. So, and what we do here is encouraging that we only ask the questions that are critical at this stage in the process. So it's very straightforward and easy to complete. And that's why, like Zach was mentioning, that usually people spend between like 4 minutes up to a little bit more than 10, depending on whether the listings have preferences or not, or whether there is a little bit of a complexity on that front. So we have kind of these 4 steps process that home seekers need to complete: information about them, about their household, about their income, and then they can review and apply. Other thing that we provide as a benefit for home seekers is the possibility to create an account and save their data. So if they want to apply to other opportunities, they can reuse whatever they have completed already in another opportunity. We usually don't make that mandatory because we have heard that some people are still hesitant or they don't want to have other account. But again, that's up to each jurisdiction to decide whether that's mandatory or not to create an account. And then the other thing that we have heard from a lot of user research and testing is that home seekers wanted to have more clarity on what is happening after they apply. And even though we had some information on the listing page, we decided to add these more details in the email that they receive, as well as on the screen that they see after they apply, in order to repeat the information that is critical for them. Okay. I think the one more thing I want to highlight here is that also we support notifications via email or text messages. So home seekers can sign up to receive notifications when new opportunities come up. Okay, now I'm gonna provide a little bit more details about all the functionality for developers and property managers. So developers and property managers are able to easily upload, edit, preview, and publish the listing information. Usually the jurisdictions prefer to approve or the cities in counties approve the listings before they go live. But definitely that's something that can be done through the portal itself. And then this is kind of a preview of like when a property manager developer has many listings, they can see all of them there, what's the status, how many applications they received. So it's kind of a quick overview dashboard for them. Again, here also we care a lot about this experience. We care a lot about making it very easy and straightforward for these stakeholders to manage and edit the listings information, because we did previously all the work of like creating a model for listings and common applications. It's kind of, and many fields have options or are pre-populated. It's very easy to upload a listing. And this is particularly helpful for the folks that don't have much experience in affordable housing units. And then they can just click publish, and that is goes live into the public site. And they can edit all the information. Is sometimes we know that developers have a few revisions internally on the inside, so they can keep things in draft mode and have someone else reviewing it as well. Here, as I was mentioning, is the model with like some language that is pre-populated or like giving them a lot of options. So it's pretty easy for them to complete it. Other thing that we support is we allow property managers to actually add applications that they receive on paper, so they can centralize all their applications in one place, and they can start tracking them as they receive them. So there is that possibility of adding the purpose applications here. And then two more things that I want to highlight here is that we also provide functionality to flag duplicates applications, whether someone by error or by intentionally submitted more than one application. And sometimes maybe some folks may submit electronically as well as in paper. So by centralizing it all here, they can easily see that and decide which ones to keep, or some cases, some jurisdictions requires property managers to reach out to folks that might have submitted ones, or they can do the rules that they prefer in terms of keeping or not those duplicates applications. And then we have heard that it's useful for developers and property managers to be able to export all the applicants' data that they receive. So we provide also that ability so they can also easily manipulate that or integrate it with any other system that they may have. I think I easily already covered this. So the other piece that I want to highlight here is the functionality for housing staff. Of course, housing staff and our jurisdictions partners have super admin powers on the platform, so they can see all the listings that are live in their jurisdictions. And then they can also easily manage preferences and programs. So let me see. Actually, yeah, basically they can add preferences and reorder them. So then and they can go make changes if any preference or program changes. So that's very easy to do, or delete if anything changed in that front. And then that is also property managers and developers can see that. Here is just a sample of like the reports that we provide to jurisdictions. We aggregate data from different sources. So as Zach was mentioned at the very beginning, our housing staff partners can see critical information of like who is applying, what are the units types that are more requested, what kind of the accessibility needs that are expressed, what are the income levels, income ranges, what are the most request units, what are the people from which cities are people applying from, and demographics data when people complete that. We also provide a lot of insights around the analytics that allows like housing staff as well as property managers and developers to make decisions or learn from each opportunity. The last thing that I want to highlight here in terms of like access to data, we help jurisdictions in terms of like understanding all this information. We know that some jurisdictions may have in-house teams that can help with the data analysis, but some jurisdictions don't have that capacity. So we typically help jurisdictions to mature their analytics capacities. We also do retrospectives when opportunities are live or right after, and quarterly reports, and in general data workshops at the beginning or like every 6 months. So to make sure that the city or the county is using all the information that is available for them. And each time we can, we also create templates for reports in order to make sure we help our jurisdictions to meet their reporting needs or anything that the leadership may want to see. And then many times we have different reports. We share those reports with property managers and developers to make sure that we incorporate the insights or requests that they may have. And then we also share it with CDOs if that those partners are, the jurisdictions partners are working with them. So definitely flexible on that end to meet the needs, the data needs of that jurisdiction. Okay, checking on time. We're good on time. Zach, shall I pause for any questions or shall I continue?
Looks like Vubang has been answering the questions pretty rapidly here, so I
Awesome.
think we're good and you can keep going and we can stop for any follow-ups. You're done.
Great, thank you. I think I've been highlighting this while I was presenting, but I want to make sure that this is clear for everyone. The way we do things, the way we ensure that the platforms we build are successful and really embedded in the affordable housing process and the communities where we work with is by co-creation and cross-sectoral collaboration. So as I mentioned before, we standardize the listing and the common application format through many workshops with developers and property managers and the cities and county staff. Each time we hear the need to add new functionality or like the desire of a jurisdiction to have new functionality, we encourage to do workshops to make sure that we are gathering the insights and the vision of critical players that we will then be using that functionality, and then the user research and testing each time we decide to build new things, or sometimes we do it just in general to make sure that we capture opportunities for improvement and to take those into considerations for next rounds of development or updates. We also encourage jurisdictions to create a steering committee that is compounded by like the city, county staff, as well as the biggest or like the most important property managers and developers. Sometimes we kind of provide the framework for the jurisdictions to run it, and then we also heard, and many other jurisdictions prefer to have XCG co-leading or even facilitating those convenings. We are also flexible on that front. But we have seen that being really, really successful. It usually meets as soon as we start working more often at the very beginning, and then every month or every 2 months or as needed. But we have seen a lot of engagement, and actually even property managers and developers bringing issues that they want to discuss because they haven't seen these opportunities of getting together, and many of them really appreciate it. But basically, by doing those convenings, we really help to create a sense of excitement, ownership, and then the opportunity to validate decisions and making sure we are considering all the inputs or feedback that is needed in order to have everyone collaborating with the usage and the impact of the platform. It's more like the process, what we typically do when we start our work. First, we do kickoff as well as a stakeholder mapping process to understand what are all the stakeholders internally in your department, as well as in the community and with property managers and developers that we should be involving. Then we do a product vision and discovery workshop where we gather all the goals and features, as well as, especially goals that we should be considering for building and growing the platform in your community. Then we do all the custom design to make sure we incorporate the branding guidelines that your jurisdiction may have. And if needed, we do a listing mapping workshop in order to create that model, tailor that model for your community. Sometimes what we do with jurisdiction is launch a platform with just listings first. So to provide a benefit very quickly in a couple of months to allow people to see listings. And sometimes these jurisdictions decide to wait a few more months and actually launch the site when the common application is already available, so they can not only search but as well as apply. That's, again, we are flexible and we match the timeline as well as the goals of each jurisdiction. And then, as I mentioned before, we continuously gather feedback from the community. Okay. Now I'm gonna talk about the staffing model. As Zach was mentioning before, we put in place a multidisciplinary team We bring expertise in product and project management, in housing policy development and facilitation, in outreach and listings management, in data analysis, also all the technical leadership to make sure nothing breaks. The user research and testing, we put a big focus on accessibility. So the site is of course mobile friendly and meeting all the policies in terms of accessibility. We help jurisdiction also with content strategy and with reporting. And then the way jurisdiction staff the project and the engagement, it really depends on the capacities and also how much staff members they have and how much involvement they want to have. So sometimes we are the ones actually being more hands-on, and sometimes it's the jurisdiction. Also, it depends on whether they want to have their IT or innovation or digital services team involved or not. But we definitely have experience with all the models in this front. We also like to talk about the sustainability of the site upfront, because we definitely care about the site being usable even after we develop it, and we provide a lot of options for maintenance. For instance, in San Francisco, we help them create a digital services team, and even though we have been in partnership with them from 2015 and they have created this team, we are still supporting them with the maintenance. In Alameda County, we have actually helped recruit a nonprofit coordinator. In their case is Eden INR, and we have also helped them build their capacity. So they have taken some of the responsibilities that we have been doing, especially on the listings management and facilitation side of things. And we continue providing technical maintenance for them. And in the case of San Jose and San Mateo, that they have come together in order to kind of continue improving their sites. For instance, San Jose has more involvement from their IT team, whereas in San Mateo, it's just the housing department, the one mostly involved, and we do some facilitation and the maintenance for them. And as I was mentioning before, we are now working very actively with BAFA for the Doorway platform. And in their case, they have, for instance, take advantage of like a fellowship from google.org, and we have worked very closely in terms of like making sure that the fellows have a clear roadmap as well as overseeing all their work. So as you can see, we definitely provide a lot of options and can work with jurisdictions to meet their needs, both in terms of like the full engagement as well as what happened afterwards. Okay. In terms of the services we provide, here is kind of a quick overview. I think I mentioned most of them. So I'm gonna move us along with this one. What are the typical options to procure Bloom? And there are mainly 3 options, and we have placed them in order of ease of contracting. So the easiest one is the sole source. That's possible because we have been the team that created and have been like working on this product ever since. So that is possible. There is the option of like piggyback of cooperating purchasing or releasing a competitive RFP. In terms of how we do this work, there is one track, which we call it the tier 2, the adapt, where like some jurisdictions may say to us, we just want whatever all the features that you already have available in the platform. We don't want to do new feature development. So that is one possibility. The other tier is the evolve one, where jurisdictions come with some specific requests because of policy or leadership decisions that they want to actually have other functionality than the one that you have seen today. That's also possible. And then the other option, tier 1 maintain, is that after whether we were with you with adapt or evolve, that we move into maintenance. for the period of time. Yeah, that is something we can talk about. Okay, and then in terms of like, of course, the pricing, it depends on the jurisdictional size, complexity, goals, and needs, and we can talk about more about that on the second call. Zach, do you want to cover this?
Sure. As I mentioned at the beginning, we originally, when we originally built this platform, starting in 2015, we started really small. We built something that was just for a subset of listings. It didn't yet even have an application function. I think we were only listing below market rate or inclusionary units. We have over the years been continually adding to the functionality, and what you've seen so far today is where the platform currently stands. But the platform is continually improving, and so you can expect that if you were to become a partner with us on this platform, to continue to see it get better over time. And these are the kinds of things that are on our current roadmap for improvements that we're planning to make. We are planning on making improvements right now for geocoding functionality, for example, which is on this list. And what that's going to allow jurisdictions to do is to have digital enablement of preferences that are geographically located. I mean, that's really important for some of our partners. We're planning also to be working on more functionality that occurs kind of further down the funnel after an application has been submitted, things like lotteries and waitlist management. We're also working on integrations with more systems of record and additional reporting functionality. The platform is and will remain open source. Happy to talk more about what that means for you and for your community, but essentially it means that this is a public good. It will continue to exist as a public good in perpetuity, and the license that it's released under guarantees that it will always be available for use. Let's see. And lastly, this is a system that has only been successful because we have intentionally included all kinds of stakeholders. We all know that housing is a multi-stakeholder environment, and that if we only do something with governments, but we don't include nonprofits and advocates and developers and staff, that we're going to build something that only works for one subset of the folks in the ecosystem. And so we're always eager to connect with partners who can help us to make the system better, who can help us to reach out to other communities, who can help give us feedback on how we can improve. So we're eager to build partnership. Is that back to you, Antonella?
Sure, I can cover this last slide. So I think as I mentioned before, next step is like now hearing in the remaining time, feedback, insights, questions that you might have. And second is organizing a second call where we will bring some different members of our team, and we will encourage you to do the same. And then we will collect information around your goals, your needs, what's kind of the state of your relationships with developers and property managers, with your listings. We already have listings. Do we will need to clean data or not in order to import those listings? What are some other needs that you may have, let's say around resources that you want to provide for your community, technical considerations? So that's basically the goal of that second call, better understanding where you are at and what you want to accomplish, and making sure that we gather all the information that is critical in order for us to be able to tailor the proposal, and then do a third call where we discuss what do we think is going to be the best way of partner in order to help you achieve your goals. So yes, that is the main things that we wanted to present to you. Thank you so much, Ruben, for jumping in, because I cannot multitask, present and read and respond the chat. But I wonder if there were questions that we might want to discuss, whether on the chat, something else that we might want to debrief, or any other feedback and questions that you may have for us today.
Is it possible to get a copy of the presentation?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna send afterwards the recording link as well as the presentation.
Any other questions? Thoughts? Elaine, any thoughts?
I was impressed. It felt like a breath of fresh air, because I hear a lot of people that, struggling to find a place to live, and, they missed the deadline, didn't know about the deadline. And so having a one-stop shop is definitely something I aspire to. And so I think it's like what you had at the end there, it's putting our heads together and really walking through what that may look like for County of Santa Cruz. Appreciate the invitation, Robert, Cheryl.
Thank you.
And the one thing I want to add there is that you don't need to have everything figured out. We also typically help our partners in order to bring stakeholders together to create internal alignment, or to think of all the questions that you need to have answers to in order to put this forward. So definitely you can count on us as well in that process.
I think one of the questions that does come up for me is the communities that are currently using this model. Is there any way that we can connect with them to see how it actually works? Because my brain works, okay, so I go up to this thing, I do this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equals this, you know what I mean? And I share that because so many people are so exhausted from this process of not being able to, again, know there was an application, the application's too late, or they're missing information, to be able to, so we could be able to sell it to the community, for lack of a better word, you know what I mean? And I don't even like the word sell it, but like when I'm speaking with people, I like to be as truthful and honest as I can, and I say this works, because people are so physically, emotionally drained from some of these tools that we don't currently have. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe two things that comes into my mind is that we can share also more about all the testimonies of the user research and testing that we have done, because we continuously are checking feedback, and the feedback is super positive. And when it's not, for instance, we implement changes. So you saw that on the homepage now, there's one big section that's like, learn more about the affordable housing process, because when we were testing the notifications feature, people were like, oh yeah, it's nice to have notifications, but what's happening next? So it's like we realized, okay, this feedback what we are getting, that is not about the questions we are asking for, but we definitely need to care about. So we did a redesign on the homepage based of that. But I think we can definitely connect you with some of our partners where we are now operating in. And even I'm thinking of connecting you with Eden INR in Alameda County, because they also have a lot of contacts with people. So maybe I think, of course, we will need to check, because I'm providing, but I'm sure they should be fine in case if you want to connect and check with them.
Yeah, thank you. And testimonials are great as well. Thank you.
Robert has his hand up, and then Priscilla.
Wondering if you all could share if you have any insights on the kind of range of fundraising needed to really implement this project, and the installations you've had so far, maybe startup and then annually, and what kinds of sources governments are using, just so we can get people here thinking about it. And then I'm also really interested in how the technology helps drive community organizing. One of the challenges in my mind around making it easier for customers? Is everybody wants to do things their own way and they got their own system, and it requires people to change what they're doing to be part of something that makes it easier for the customer. So interested in if you could share more about how that's played out in different jurisdictions. And 3 questions, sorry, I'm stacking them. And then a little bit more on the doorway, maybe behind this. Like, I was a little irritated that they were doing their own thing and didn't just, and maybe I'm misinterpreting. When I saw the articles, like, what the hell? Why don't you use the damn Bloom portal? So kind of curious about, and that's more of the community building, organizing, trying to get everybody to work together on a thing versus everybody splintering and doing their own thing. So it's kind of related to the second question.
I can probably take the first one and the last one, and then I'll hand it to Antonella and Vubang to take the middle question. So Robert, just to speak a little bit to funding, our initial partners are big jurisdictions. The city and county of San Francisco has a $9 billion per year budget. And I don't know what the city of San Jose has, but it's a large jurisdiction. And they've been really funding the product to be built. And it didn't exist before they funded it. Today, the product has matured. And so we're at a point where we're able to start working with jurisdictions with smaller budgets. We need to talk to you a second time to really understand that the purpose of that second call that Antonella mentioned is for us to understand what unique requirements you may have, so that we can understand what's the difference between what we have today and what you need in order for us to be able to service you. Our hope is that what we've already built is really close to what you need. And if that's the case, then I think we'll be able to work with you in a really cost-effective way. I'm not going to give you any numbers today because I don't want to misset your expectations. I want to hear more before we come back to you with that. But our goal is to make sure that we are acknowledging that you all are not the city and county of San Francisco from a budget perspective, and that we're able to work with you in a way that works for you and your taxpayers while serving your residents. So that's the funding piece. And I promise you, we will get you a more concrete answer to that after our second call, as we come back to you on a proposal, which is the 3rd time we speak with you. And then to the doorway piece, I think I would encourage you to sort of reframe how you're seeing that. They are trying to work and I don't mean to be like, it's not a perfect initiative, so don't take this to but it's a great initiative. And they are trying to work with everyone. Alameda has a seat at that table. San Mateo and City of San Jose have a seat at that table. And without putting words in their mouths, I believe that they intend to work closely with Doorway to the point where that will be the system for even those partners that already have existing Bloom portals. They're not yet ready to move over to Doorway because Doorway doesn't yet have all the functionality that their systems have. So right now, as Doorway launched on Thursday, it's only listings. It doesn't yet have applications. So Alameda is not going to come over because Alameda has applications on their system. It will get there soon. And then I'm not going to speak for them. They have some decisions to make, but we're hopeful that this Doorway system is going to become the regional portal. And I think different stakeholders will move over at different times. I can't speak for any of the other partners, but I want to sort of reframe it so that you're not thinking Doorway is off doing their own thing. Doorway is really trying to work with all the other stakeholders and make sure that this is something that not only serves those jurisdictions, but more importantly, serves folks who live on the border between one county or another and don't really care about that county border. They just want to see all the housing opportunities that are near them and their family. And then I'll hand it back, Antonella and Vubang. Is there more you can say to Robert's middle question?
Yes, we hear your concern. Is that kind of the typical question that we get But actually, the way we have been successful is by that co-creation and cross collaboration that we mentioned before. So taking the time to really think of the framework of engaging other stakeholders. So there's thinking of a steering committee or workshops or both. Sometimes it's one-on-one with some players first, but I mean, we have the muscle and like we have kind of walked the walk these past 5 years. So we definitely sit with each jurisdiction and hear the needs, but up until now, that has been a very, very successful process.
Thank you. We have Priscilla. Hands up.
Yes. Hi. I had a question, a follow-up question. I had a question about the pre-application. Do you guys also do a full application, or is it just kind of the pre-application screening? Can you hear me?
Wu-Bang, I don't know if you're available. Do you want to take that or?
Yeah, I could take it. What we've heard from property managers is the supplemental application processes, which is what follows the pre-application process that's on the portal, is something that they like to handle themselves because it's a lot more hands-on. It requires a lot of back and forth, needing to make sure they check income, making sure that they have all the right documents, and a lot more handholding. But the great thing about this process is because the pre-application has a lot of applications, that whittles down to a much more manageable number of folks once they get on to the second part of the process, which is the supplemental application. We've also been told that it's very difficult to digitize that whole process, just a matter of uploading documents, having a case manager review, property manager review it, uploading another document. It's just, it's a lot more tedious and hands-on, and they don't necessarily want to digitize that whole process. It becomes a little bit, we want to make sure that we're empathetic to applicants' needs, and just having it be just a system that you just throw online is not really being empathetic to a lot of applicants' needs.
Thanks.
Okay. We are just in time, right on the dot. If you do not have any questions, or you still have more questions later, you know, still open. Tom, Elaine, Priscilla, you know, my colleagues Jessica, all of you, if you still have more questions, please send it over. I think once I share the slides and the recording, I'll also include the email addresses as well. So you can always still push the questions for XG to answer. I want to say thank you to Antonella, Zach, and Wu-Bang for being present and giving us a great presentation. As you can see, this is something that's very exciting for us in Santa Cruz, and we're looking forward to the next conversation, like you said, Zach, and to see how we can come together. And we will also be working in the back end to get more community partners aligned with it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. I'll be in touch to send
Okay.
you these and then to schedule the second call.
All right, awesome.
Thank you so
Have a
much,
good
everyone.
afternoon.
Thank you.
Happy 4th of July.
Yeah. May the 4th be with you all.
And the fourth be with you. Thank you so much. Be safe.